Welcome, everybody. Hello. Thank you for being here. This is Spirit Matters, your daily spiritual check. And my name is Dal Grung, and I'm coming at you live from Brooklyn, New York. And I'm here with a live Zoom studio audience of beautiful, wonderful people that I'm grateful to see and connect with every day. And with you, we know each other a little bit, even though we've never met. And wherever you are, I'm grateful that you're in my life by listening and being here. And I'm grateful that you're letting me into your life by tuning in and having this podcast into your airwaves. It's so important what we consume on a daily basis on so many levels. Anybody ever feel low energy sometimes and you're just like, and you go back and you have to retrace your diet or your exercise? Like, what am I eating? And it's like, if you know me, you know, I gave up sugar a while ago. I'm still going on it. And every day I'm like, how long is this going to last? And part of me is like, I'm going to do it the rest of my life. And part of me is like, maybe I'll just do it the rest of the year. Maybe he's like, maybe I'm going to stop right now and go get a cupcake. It was kind of like, that's how I became a vegetarian also. I wasn't necessarily planning to do it for the rest of my life, but I was 17 years old. My friend and I were doing a book report on Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. And we thought, we did a project and reporting it together. And at some point, there's fasting in the book and there's spiritual principles. And for some reason, I don't know where, it must have been my samskars from a past life kind of nudging me. But I just said, I bet I can go longer without eating meat than you can. And he looked at me and he said, okay. And I'm still going. 21 years later. And so, but it was just kind of like when I started to do it, it just, something about it felt healthier, and something also just felt like energetically, I just felt cleaner and a little bit more aligned. And I didn't quite know why, because it wasn't ethical in any way for me at that time. But it gradually became so. And, so sometimes we start things and just to kind of for kicks and giggles and to just try to think about, it might be nice to do. And then it just becomes a part of who we are. But we think about our diet and what we're putting into our body. And so, I haven't eaten sugar in like 5 months now. And, you think about, if I'm feeling low energy, what am I eating too much sugar? Am I eating at night? If I'm snacking at night, it's 10 o'clock at night and you're snacking, you wake up in the morning, all that undigested food is just sitting in your body. And you don't really feel like getting up and getting going because your body didn't rest completely because it was busy digesting while you were supposed to be sleeping. And then it's just kind of sitting in there, making you a little bit heavy when you wake up. And so sometimes we feel low energy physically, and we go back and retrace our steps and think about, what am I putting into my body that is contributing to heaviness, lethargy, or is contributing to feelings of lightness, feelings of energy? My wife and I, public service announcement, we started drinking AG1 greens. Anybody familiar with AG1 greens? Athletic greens. Never heard of them before, but my wife found an ad for them. It's like a green powder that you get in the mail, and it's supposed to be like super high energy, superfood stuff, that all like natural good stuff, that you put a scoop of it in water in the morning and then you drink it. It doesn't taste bad. She made me a spirulina shot the other day, like spirulina, and I couldn't get past smelling it. I wasn't able to drink it. I was like, I can't drink this. And she's like, fine. But I did drink the AG1 greens, and it's good. And you drink it in the morning. It's supposed to give you energy, I'm still waiting for it to kick in. But, when we feel a certain way, we can vanilla pineapple. That's right, Ball Davy. It does taste, it is a little vanilla-y pineapple, although there's no vanilla in it. It's not like sometimes you get like protein drinks or energy drinks, and they're just filled with crap, like, okay, there's 20 grams of protein and also a bunch of other junk, and just like, what? So anyway, AG1 greens, if you order with promo code Dial, you will get 0% off. But we retrace our steps to think about, what am I eating that's contributing to the way I'm feeling? And I think also similarly, when we're feeling a certain way mentally, emotionally, spiritually, we owe it to ourselves to retrace our steps and think about, what am I consuming through all of my other senses? Specifically, what am I hearing? What have I been hearing and consuming into my consciousness through the airwaves and into my ears? What conversations have I been listening to? What movies and TV shows have I been watching? What thoughts am I allowing to percolate in my brain? And so similarly, we take the opportunity to pay attention to what we listen to on a daily basis. And so I'm not sure exactly how I got on this rant, but I remember myself saying, thank you for being here this morning or afternoon or evening and for inviting me in to your life. We're making a decision to be here together and to remind ourselves of our spiritual essence and to have a little bit of spirit touch our life so that we can lift ourselves up a little bit. And we've been having our dear friend Premanjali has been a guest. In case you're wondering, is Premanjali just sitting there while I'm going on this big rant? She's not here today. She's not here. Sometimes I do that. We have special guest Premanjali, and then I'll spend 20 minutes doing the introduction. And I'll be like, that's all the time we got for today. What's your takeaway, Premanjali? She's like, do you really want me to say anything? Is it needed? But she's not here today. She's on an airplane. She's on her way to a beautiful Kirtan festival taking place in Dallas called Sadhu Sangha Retreat. It's a 3-day, all-day Kirtan affair where people fly in from all over the country and all over the world, and they do Kirtan. They do sound meditation, and she's going to be a part of it. Her spiritual teacher, Guru Indradyumna Swami, who she told the story about having to go get Srila Prabhupada's lost luggage and lugging it up the stairs and then being slapped on the back and said, there's so much struggle and toil in the material world. But when I take you back to the spiritual world, everything's going to be simple and sublime. Sydney, she's going. Sydney said that she's going. In case you're wondering who Sydney and Baldevi is and these people I'm talking to, they're my imaginary friends that I talk to keep myself inspired on the podcast. No, I'm just joking. They are part of our live Zoom studio audience. We got a Zoom room going on here and they get a little chat. And so Sydney is going to Sadhu Sangha. Super happy for you. Really glad that's going to take place. It's a beautiful, beautiful festival. I was tempted to go myself, but I didn't. But it's beautiful. And so Premanjali, she's been our guest this week. And some of the things that we were talking about yesterday was finding that intentional time in our day, in our week, and in our lives to make sure that we are investing and finding that quiet time. It's something that I struggle with a lot. It's not easy. It's something that it's so easy. And we live in a culture, we talked about this yesterday. We live in a culture where it's so easy to just live my life by responding to all the stimulus that comes my way. I just kind of wake up and I check my phone. Why? Not because I'm looking for anything, not because there's something that I told myself I was going to do last night. I'm just looking to see what messages came in. I'm just looking to see what pops up on my feed. I'm just looking to see what the news headlines are. And before I even take the time to intentionally set how I want to spend my morning, I'm already in responding mode. And it builds a habit to just set aside what I want and need for my life and just respond to whatever's coming my way. And I think that there's tremendous power to take back for ourselves to not just respond to things all day long, but to decide for ourselves what's important for me, what are my values, and what do I want to make sure happens today, even if it's small, little things of presence. There's a beautiful verse from Bhagavad Gita that I was going to read, and I was thinking that in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is titled Dhyana Yoga, the yoga of meditation, and what is meditation? Meditation is an absorption of the mind. We had our Thursday night kirtan last night at the Bhakti Center, and it's so beautiful for people to come, sing together, and connect together in community. And there's always people that are there for the first time and explaining what is kirtan. And kirtan really is a meditation, but it's not meditation in the way that we normally traditionally think of meditation, of getting into a quiet place and just noticing your breath. And that's part of meditation. There is meditation that you can experience in silence, but meditation can also be active. Meditation can also come in the form of sound, because meditation really is an absorption of the mind in an intentional manner that has a positive effect on the consciousness. Meditation is an intentional absorbing on the mind in a way that has a positive effect on the consciousness that brings us closer to our true selves. We're meditating all the time on something. We're meditating on the movie that we just saw. We're meditating on the conversation we just had. We're meditating on our ex-partner or our current partner or the potential partner that we're hoping to have. We're meditating on things and absorbing our mind all the time. Advertising, social media, news channels, they're always pining for our attention, for us to meditate and absorb our mind somewhere. And when we come to the path of yoga, we decide, I want to choose where I absorb my mind, because the nature of the mind is to get absorbed. The mind, we talk about people, is like, I got a short attention span. Actually, all of us have the ability to be deeply absorbed in something if it's exciting enough or the right frequency or the right attention. We say kids have a short attention span, but they'll spend 3 hours in front of a video game, because just depending on what it is, we do have the capacity to absorb our mind. We've just sometimes lost the ability to choose where we absorb it. And so meditation, in a spiritual sense, is choosing, I want to meditate on self. I want to meditate on higher truth. I want to meditate on God, on higher power, on divinity, on source. And so we reclaim that power back for ourselves. And so there's a beautiful chapter in the Bhagavad Gita called Dhyana Yoga, which is the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which talks a lot about the nature of the mind and about how the mind is a tool that we use to absorb ourselves. And if we're not careful with this tool, then it can carry us away. Just think about like I have a little picture video of I have a nephew. He's like 10 or 11 now. But before, when he was like a little toddler, his dad does construction work, and he had like tools, and he had like a little like an air pressure thing or something, which is kind of like a mini jackhammer that he put on it. It was like, cute picture of him using this tool. But if you're like a little kid and you don't have a tool, and you have like a jackhammer, you don't know what you're doing, it'll just like take you away. Anybody said there's that GIF, the video, that meme of the guy who was like a news reporter, and he was going to have he had like that jet backpack, and he was over the water, and he was going to go and like fly over the water. And then he just kind of like, if you're not watching this and you're just listening to my sounds, it might just be, but then he just then he shot into the water because he didn't quite know how to use the pack. And so it's like that. If we get a tool that we don't exactly know how to use it, a high powered tool, it just catapults us into the water. We fall off a cliff. We just get taken away. You hit the gas pedal, and you're just kind of all of a sudden somewhere where you didn't mean to be, and you're overpowered by it. And the mind is like that. The mind is a powerful tool that if we don't know how to use properly, it will use us. If we don't know how to use the mind properly, it will use us. And spirituality, yoga, is a process of learning how to develop a relationship with my mind, where I can use it as a powerful tool to bring me closer to my real self. I'm not my mind. My mind is not my real self. I'm not my body. My goal isn't to connect with the mind and develop mental fitness, but it's to develop mental fitness so that I can get to a place where I can connect with my true self, which is beyond the body and which is beyond the mind. And so the nature of the mind is described very deeply in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And there's beautiful verses that are there. And there's one verse, chapter 6, verse 10, that I wanted to read for us. Krishna mentions, Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasti stitaha ekaki yata chittatma nirashir apa aparigraha. Hope I got that right. A transcendentalist or yogi, so the word yogi is used, and here it's being translated as a transcendentalist, should always engage yujita satatam. Satatam means always. We have this word sat, which means eternal. So we sometimes use this word satatam in Sanskrit, which means always. Should always engage their body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. So it's this absorption of consciousness that every moment is an opportunity for me to connect spiritually. My spiritual practice shifts from something I do 10 minutes in the morning when I wake up, 10 minutes in the evening before I go to bed. And, every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. when I take my core power flow or my bhakti flow, or I have my meditation break at lunch. All of those things are powerful. All of those things are needed. Those are big jolts. Those are like the superfoods. Those are the AG1 greens that we eat in order to stay connected in a strong way. But we also don't want that to be the limit of how we connect spiritually. Every single moment. And there's beautiful verses in subsequent chapters where Krishna talks about being the taste of water, being the light of the sun and the moon, of mountains, I am the Himalayas, you know, of aquatics, I am the shark, of seasons, I am flower-bearing spring. All of these beautiful ways in which we can remember divine presence in my life. When I drink water and I feel and I don't just like chug it, I'm like, ugh, like you're like me, I just chug water. But I actually remember like this thirst quenching, life-giving experience is Krishna. When I look into this, when I look up and I open the shades in the morning and I experience the sunshine, I just walk out and I experience the sun giving light. I remember that Krishna is the light of my life and giving direction, giving illumination, lighting up the world. I can remember all these. When I have an interaction with another living being, I can think this person is a spiritual spark of Krishna's divine energy. My ability to move in this world and the gifts that I've been given have been bestowed upon me by that divine source. Let me use it in a way that is honoring to that divine source. So transcendentals, that yogi, should always engage their body, mind, and self from relationship with the Supreme. They should live alone in a secluded place and always carefully control the mind. So that's what we've been discussing. Ekaki, ekaki, E-K-A-K-I, ekaki. Eka means one. Stita, rahasi, stita, ekaki. They should be situated alone in a secluded place. Where do I go to have alone time and to reset from the world and to connect with myself deeply, where I can observe the nature of my mind and recommit myself to a life that is more focused, intentional, and connected? We have to give that to ourselves. We have to plan it, whether you schedule it, whether you, I guess that's the only way you do it, schedule it, schedule it. But we sometimes have to fight for it. And that was a beautiful reminder that Premanjali was giving us earlier. We were talking about Madhava Prabhu, who comes to these kirtan festivals, and how, you know, you're giving so much sometimes, but you have to take time for yourself to connect spiritually. It's not a luxury. It's not like it's not just like a luxury or what's something that you get, like something you pamper yourself once a month and go get a massage. It's like, no, I have to eat today. I have to nourish myself, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. The verse continues and finishes, they should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. And that allows us to detach ourselves a little bit, because I can't do that for myself. There's so many things I got to take care of. None of it belongs to you anyways, and none of it is completely, you're not the controller regardless. That you can rest things in Krishna's hands and make sure that you have that time to invest in yourself spiritually. And so we do that through our study of spiritual literature. We do that through our spiritual practice of japa and mantra meditation. And we do that right here, right now, by just tuning in wherever you are and having these little reminders. So today, I want you to think about, where do you invest spiritually? Where do you give yourself that time? Is life running away from you? Does it feel like a runaway train where you once were the conductor, but now you're the passenger, and now you're just running along with this train that doesn't have a schedule, that you don't know when it's going to stop? You don't have the ability to increase or decrease the speed. How can you put blocks of time in your life where you make sure you intentionally invest in your eternal self? Find it, fight for it. It's worth it. And if you water that root of that tree in your life, all other things will fall into place. And if something slips away or gets lost, it may not have been that important in the first place. But we have to get this one thing right. and we're going to get it wrong all the time, but we just keep coming back to it, and that's okay. And that's why we're here. That's why it's your daily spiritual check-in. I'm here to remind you that you're worth it. There's a beautiful saying that they say at the end of 12-step meetings. It works if you work it, so work it. You're worth it. It works if you work it, so work it because you're worth it. And so that's our little thesis here for today. And that's what I'm walking away with. And I'm going to turn it over to Kimberly, who's our Wrap It Up Acharya, that has all kinds of little sweet takeaways for us that we can keep in our back pocket and remember as we go into the weekend. What you got for us, Kimberly?
Thanks, Daya. We're taking away to check what we're consuming through the senses. That meditation is an intentional absorption of the mind that has a positive effect on the consciousness. To learn to use the tool of the mind properly, otherwise it'll use us. Every moment is an opportunity to connect spiritually, and that we're not the controllers, and to rest it in higher love's hands.
All beautiful stuff. Rest it in higher love's hands. That's totally it. My friend Vera always would say Krishna's will is unfolding in our life. God's will is unfolding in my life. I don't have to figure it all out. I don't have to control the outcome. I don't have to feel like it all depends upon me. I can just be present. I can be available. I can be sincere. And I can trust that everything is unfolding the way it's meant to. That's what I'm taking away. And I love you guys so much. I'm grateful for you for being here. Thank you so much, whether you tune in live, whether you tune in from around the world, whether you're in Japan, whether you're in Brazil, whether you're in London, whether you're in Australia, whether you're in India, whether you're in Israel, wherever you are. I know people from all those places that tune in at different times, and I love you and I'm grateful for you wherever you are. Thank you so, so much. Please have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend. We're off for the weekend. We have my good friend Paris Stew is coming with us next week. We're going to get to talk with Paris Stew next week. So please don't miss conversations with her. Please take care, everybody. Be well. Tell somebody that you love them, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.